Dave, look on the bright side. He's not even wearing that T-shirt anymore with a lint all over it.
I just want to be on the record that I noticed it.
Hey, come on. Hey, this is Johnny Beane, and we are live talking guitars with Pixxy Lixxx.
What's up, dudes?
Yeah. What's up, man?
What's up, Steve?
And there it is.
Yeah. And that's it.
The
Good night, everybody.
What's up,
Good
dude?
night,
Hey,
everybody.
everybody. Have a good night.
See you all. And it's a wrap.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we got Rob
We
John.
just lost people, too. We had 15, now we have 8. People think we're gone.
Oh, just kidding. Come back.
I know.
Yeah.
Dave Nesdahl.
Hey,
Hey, man.
what's happening?
Good.
Lots of people in here.
Good.
Lots of people in here. Say hello to Jaden James, Joe Jenkins, Tone Bolts, Broken Chains, 7/8, Blackie DH. A lot of people so far. Douglas Bedore,
Nice.
Billy Shelton,
Good
Everybody.
deal.
and a lot more.
A lot of people on a Wolfgang Wednesday.
Yeah.
Nice Wolfgang.
Yeah, this is a custom deal. This is a custom deal. It's one of those things that you do when you're a nut like us, and all you do is stripe and build Van Halen guitars, and then you go above and beyond, and you go buy the, like Dave and I, we go buy the actual signature guitars, and we customize those too. Never
Yeah,
ends.
it's fun. It's fun to make them look more realistic than
Yeah,
they are.
that's true. So how you doing, Steve?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
It's been it's a busy week. The kids had a half day today, so then they had
Yeah.
friends over, and then
Oh yeah.
you know how
Oh
that
yeah.
goes. So it's been a little busy, but it's quieting down finally for Thanksgiving. I think we're going over to my mom's place. And,
Nice.
Having Thanksgiving over there. Is everybody here from the States? Everybody
Yeah.
in the chat
Oh,
from the States?
oh, yeah.
I mean, in the group from the States. So
Oh.
because I know you
Actually-
Canadians, you Canucks, you're out. You've been out since October.
I think
That's right.
they had Thanksgiving a while back, right?
Yeah,
They did.
they're still hipping on the tryptophan.
Yeah, because I did a live show during it, and I got a lot of happy Thanksgivings. And I was like, wait a second.
Wait a minute.
It's
It's Halloween.
not even.
Johnny Roggio, hey, what's happening?
Hey, Johnny.
I see Center on
Oh.
there. Frank.
Yeah, Sinner's here.
Oh yeah, Sinners there. Oh, we got to say hi to Howie. Johnny Howie's laying there.
Oh, Howie the Dalmatian.
Mhm.
Howie the Dalmatian.
There he is.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes.
He knows he's being talked to.
Yeah. Yeah. So for Thanksgiving, I don't know. I think we might be going down to Carmel. I'm out here in California, Santa Cruz.
Right.
Yeah, those taste great. I love
Yeah.
caramel.
Caramels?
Caramel.
Is it true what they say about it? It's one
Once
giant
you have
caramel
caramel, you never
mountain.
go back?
What?
It's like pecans. Pecans. What are you doing for Thanksgiving, Dave? What are you doing?
We're having Thanksgiving at Mom's. I think everyone has dinner at Mom's.
Oh
That's
yeah.
what we're doing, yeah.
You look like you're already dressed for it.
only because someone with a hat told me to get dressed.
Well, come on. It's 8:00.
Because usually he's not wearing anything when we do the hangout. So.
Oh.
That's turning my stomach.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's me. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Man.
Lord.
So Steve, I got a question for you. One of the things that I was kind of, I remember I started watching your videos maybe 4 years ago, maybe. And I remember the first video, we were talking about this off air, was when you were doing a review of the EVH Wolfgang stealth copy. And I remember I saw that review, and I really was impressed with your playing, obviously, and you're from the same area as me, obviously, so I was kind of keyed into some of your style and your videos, and I really liked your sense of humor, and when you would have different guests and things on like that. But one of the things that always amazed me about your videos was you always were the master at acquiring cheaper guitars and making them work. You know, like the Chinese copies and things like that. Matter of fact, you were one of the ones that, you know, after watching one of your videos, I went out and bought one of these things, one of these Chibsons, you know, and I'll tell you, it's a great guitar. I love it. And how many years you been playing guitar?
Oh, I've been playing probably longer than everybody else on this chat has been alive.
Yeah.
I started in 72.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, a while.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that in the, I think that's officially long term, right? So I've been playing for a while. I took a little break in the late 70s. And then really, I would say officially, like full on, like the discovery of power chords, that doesn't really happen till like 1980, 1979, yeah. 1980. And that, yeah, that's really where it started taking off. Really, it was the getting the Ibanez, you know, Les Paul that really fueled, you know, before that it was, you know, Mel Bay book crap. But
yeah.
That's when that's when shit got real, as we like to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Of course, I know you and Dave both, you know, I mean, Dave and I have been friends for a few years, and Dave worked at a music store for many years, and I believe you did too as well, right?
Yeah, almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Almost 10 years. And that's you know, that was definitely a way to sort of keep your, you know, your toe in the water a little bit all the time, because you know, even though I wasn't going to music school, I was going to regular school. You know, you get a lesson all the time because someone would come in and they'd know a song, maybe a new song or a song that you've sort of known for a while, but you never learned it. You hear them play it, and you're like, oh, how do you do? That's the early internet. The early internet was people. Yeah. So you'd see them, and you'd say it's the early YouTube. So they'd come in, and I'd go, oh, how you doing that? How you doing that? You know, and that really, that constant, you know, for 8 or 9 years, that'll really ratchet it up.
What store did you work at?
I worked at Norfolk County Music. Do you remember them? They were in. They had a couple stores. They had one in Dedham. They had one in Norwood. And,
I know what you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah. So they wound up actually selling like all the student names, and they sold off the inventory to other people, but they sold actually the store name and all the students and all that stuff to a guy. But he was like trying to run like another job or something at the same time, and he was forever like showing up late, and students dropped off like crazy, and teachers abandoned him for other music stores, and the name didn't last much more than a few years after I think they wound up selling it to this other guy and closing up. So but yeah, they had a good run. I think they opened in, I want to say they opened in 79, and then they opened up the Dedham store in probably 81 or 82, and then they didn't really take off until we moved the Dedham store in 86 to a much bigger facility. Mm-hmm. And that's when it really changed for the store, like in terms of people would see you as like a big player, big enough player that they wouldn't go into the city now. You know, they feel like comfortable, they'd go there. And you know, the weird thing is Daddy's Junkie Music, which is a regional chain, right at the end of their existence, right at the very end, I want to say 8 weeks, 10 weeks before they went under and were forced to liquidate, and declared bankruptcy and totally went under. They opened a store in that same exact location. And I remember walking up those stairs and walking through those doors like for the first time, and like, oh geez, it had to be like, I think they moved out of there in 91. So, you know, it was like 20 years, you know, almost. This was probably 2009, I think they went under. And maybe 2010. I remember walking in there going, wow, this is like surreal to like walk into another music store in the same exact place. And the big left room was a guitar room, just like we had it. And they had the guitars all. I was like, this is like blowing my mind. They had the registers where we had the registers. I mean, it was like, man, this is crazy. And I'm like, this is exciting. Oh my God, what a reboot. Yeah. This is awesome. And they're under. It was like weeks later. Gone.
Yeah.
Closed. And they announced they were closing on a Friday. Right? Maybe a Thursday. I thought it was a Friday. That Monday, I had business on Mass Ave in Boston. So I went down there and, you know, from where I had to park, I walked right by the Mass Ave Daddy's Boston store. And when I tell you that place was gutted, and I mean like not a counter, nothing. I mean, completely stripped. And that was Monday. That was 2 days later. So they went in there and just cleaned house when Daddy's went under. I want to say it was, who's the big financial company? Is it GM Financial?
Yeah.
I think it was GM who finally called up their chips and said, no, we can't. He wanted them to go past the first of the year, and it never happened. So they were the last, other than Guitar Center. Yeah. They were sort of the last, big set of music stores around here.
What year would that have been, Steve, approximately? Do you recall?
What, the Daddy's went under?
Daddy's went under? Wasn't that like...
I want to say it was either 09, 010. Could have been 011. Yeah. But I don't think it even went that late.
Because I want to... The reason I'm asking is because I remember we had one in Springfield here. We had one in Springfield, and we had one in... where was the other place? It was down past... Springfield down, when you get into Connecticut area, maybe it was Enfield, Connecticut, which is, right on the line of the Mass line. It could have been. But I remember I went down, I used to go down there on the weekends. My ex-wife and I used to go down, the kids were little at the time. We used to go down and she'd go shopping and I'd always go to Daddy's, and I walked in on a Saturday morning and freaking place is closed. Totally same thing, gutted, gone.
Yeah.
And I'd just been there a couple of weeks before. And I'm like, what the hell happened to Daddy's? Just boom, gone. Completely packed up, stripped,
Yeah, they were hoping to get past. So, they closed down in October, right? So it's like maybe the third week in October, third week in October, they get shut down. And they wanted them to go to January. They're like, let us get to January, see how we do for Christmas, and let us dig our way out of this hole. And they were like, no. That was the end of that. And
they just pulled the plug.
Yeah, I mean, that was a good... They had already shrunk a little bit. I remember, it wasn't even a year prior that all of a sudden, maybe a half dozen or 8 of their stores closed down. And I remember talking to the dudes going, what the hell's going on with this? He's like, oh, they were just, you know what it is? They were just underperforming stores. And sometimes we build stores that are too close to each other and we realize, you know what, it's just too close. And we're going to just make it more streamlined. And it made a lot of sense. I mean, the guy was making a lot of sense. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. And then boom, they were gone 6 months later.
Yeah.
Those are the tremors. the early warning tremors before the big one hit.
Yeah. That's good.
Man. Wow.
Yeah, but I mean, he's right. I mean, Daddy's Junkie Music, that was always kind of like I wouldn't call it the poor man's guitar center, but I mean, we didn't have a lot of guitar centers around here. Up in, New Hampshire, there was a few, but Daddy's Junkie Music was cool.
Until Guitar Center came to town, they were the biggest thing. They were the biggest chain by far.
We never had a Daddy's Junkie in New York.
I know. And you know what? He went to the Midwest. I think he was in Indiana. So I don't know, in Ohio. So it was weird. He didn't want to go to New York for some reason. Maybe Sam Ash and that.
Sam Ash probably had a deal. You know, you can set up around us, but don't set up in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. They that's so funny that you mentioned. Yeah, they never really went down there. And they went north. They were in, I think, Maine, New Hampshire. They might have been in Vermont. The other big one we had up here was LaSalle, but LaSalle was only 2 locations. I think they had one in Hartford and one in...
they had one in Leominster. There was one in Leominster, too.
Oh, yeah. And then, well, they had one in Boston.
Yep.
And they were competitive. I mean, that was the company that came in, I thought, and really put everyone on notice was LaSalle.
Yeah.
What about
I
Mars?
went down there.
Remember them?
Mars Music, yeah.
Yeah.
Remember them too. They were pretty big.
They were. And they fell just as
They were all pretty much East Coast. I mean, I remember Mars even had a store in like Florida, didn't they?
They did, yeah. It was an East Coast thing. I think he had a few ones down in Florida. And then, was it as far down as New York? Were they in New York, New Jersey? Were they in the tri-state area?
I think they were in the tri-state area. I don't know where in New York. Maybe New York State, but I don't think on Long Island.
Right.
That was crazy.
Yeah. So now we're going to be we might be left someday with Amazon. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we're lucky. Yeah.
Right. Direct from Fender, direct from manufacturers at their online stores and Amazon.
Yeah.
You know, be careful for wishing Guitar Center go under, is they might be the only one around.
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah.
I know it.
You know what? We have some small stores that have done well through niche markets, mainly expensive markets.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
It's all high-end gear. Not necessarily old vintage gear, new gear, but all the, Friedman, Morgan, Bogner, Diesel, all that really high-end stuff. Their guitars are the same way. I don't think they have a guitar on the wall for under $1,500.
Yeah. It's funny because where I live in this little kind of hillbilly town, there's not a lot of, I have to drive probably a good 45 minutes to get to a Guitar Center or something like that. You're looking at about an hour or so for me to get to one of those, and that's fine. I don't mind doing that. But we have about 10, 15 years ago, we used to have these small little mom and pop music stores, and they all went away. But there's one store that's 10 minutes from my house, and I'll tell you, I go down there all the time. It's, again, a little mom and pop store. Most of the stuff is used vintage stuff. It's called Reverb. It's called Reverb, and you walk in and they have all this old stuff. You'll go in and you'll see a bunch of garbage, but at the same time, you'll go in and you'll find a vintage Les Paul, or you'll find one of those old Kramer Pacers out of the blue, just hanging on the wall. You're like, whoa, where'd that come from? Or you'll see, a Marshall Plexi or a 5150 combo, a PV. You'll see some of the stuff that you just don't normally, it's all used stuff. But I tell you, I still love those little stores like that, those little mom and pop stores, because they get the best equipment rolls in there. And it's, it's not stuff that's, I love the EVH stuff. That's fantastic. The Wolfgangs, all that stuff is fantastic. But it's always been refreshing to me to go into a little mom and pop music store and see the old Kramers, the old Ibanez guitars. That's where you find the real treasures sometimes. You know what I mean? It's kind of neat. And to see a business like that, it's a husband and wife that manage the place. And it's just neat to see them still be able to last. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a tricky business. Margins are tight. I remember when those guys owned it, it was, the lessons were really the lifeblood of the small mom and pop store.
Right.
You need that steady flow of regular income to keep going, because you don't know if you're going to sell a high margin, item, or at the very least it's low margin, but at least it's got some good dollars behind it. We definitely were not quite as bad as some places, but we really like had to clean up at like Christmas time. That really did push us for the whole year. It really was. We had a bad Christmas. We had a bad year, pretty much.
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
I think it was like that in every store, mom and pop or big box store. Christmas really, just like you said, it dictated what you did the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And like I said, if you didn't have the lessons and all the little accessories that go along with that, that's really the little trickle that you need just to keep the lights on, and pay your staff. It's tight. It's tight. They were in a growth for a while, and they were doing really well, but like anything, it ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
And what really happened was daddies came to town.
Yeah.
They came into our area. That was it. What the funny thing is it goes to show you how important location is, because when they were at one location, it didn't really seem to affect us at all. But then they moved to another location, and that location made all the difference. It killed us.
Yep. And it doesn't even have to be a far distance. It can literally be a mile or two. It's just, just that one you got to hit that sweet spot. And hit that sweet spot, and you get the traffic coming off the highway or whatever it is. Boom.
Well, that's what it was.
Good parking. It's
that too. Yeah.
It wasn't that they in one of them you could kind of see them. You could probably see them on your way home. You might see them, right? But maybe not. The other one, if you came off the highway, you had to drive past them to get to our store.
Yeah.
And if we say we're down on the right, sometimes people would see them. They forgot which music store they even called. and they'd pull in there and they'd be like, "Hey, I called you up about the strings." And he's like, "Yeah, you didn't talk to me, but what do you need?" And sell them the strings. And, it really, it killed us. It absolutely killed us.
Yeah. It's a different world now, though. I mean, like you said, I mean, everything's online. I mean, you have, people joke about Amazon, but you have, Sam Ash, you have, people don't drive to music stores anymore. They just don't do it unless you're one of those guys, like us that just enjoy that atmosphere,
I can't, other than if I'm at Costco, I can't remember the last time I went out and actually bought like a Christmas present. I get almost everything sent to me, whether it's through Amazon or eBay or, whatever online service. But I get almost like 99% of what I get the kids and my wife for Christmas, my family. I get it through online, especially with free 2-day shipping. I mean, it's just too easy. I couldn't see myself going and like picking something off a shelf, walking up and going through and standing in a checkout line. I'm not good in lines. I am not good in lines.
Well, that being said,
I remember your video, Steve, where you talked about that.
Would you still want to go into a store and play the guitar you're buying, or would you buy one sight unseen on Amazon?
I don't fear guitars that I haven't played before buying them. If there's a generous return policy, then what do I care? I don't care at all. Especially if I bought it from Guitar Center and I don't have to throw it back in the mail. I can actually just drive it over there and get my money back. That's even better. Even better is I just have it shipped to Guitar Center and I just go there and I never even walk out the door with it. I just get it there and I go in there and I check it out and I say, okay, I'll take it. I'll walk out the door with it, or no, I won't, but I don't also fear a lot of it. Sometimes I'll get a guitar and I can see like, well, this is the worst setup guitar I've ever seen in my life,
And setups
setups are nothing.
Exactly.
I mean, It's
You
like
can't
buying a
get-
lawnmower and saying these wheels are too low. It's like,
Yeah.
well, you know,
Well, that's the thing. That always boggled my mind. You know, it's like you go and you buy an Armani suit. It's not going to fit you off the rack. You have to have it tailored for you. And
Yeah.
it's the same way with every guitar. Everyone likes their guitar set up differently. So what
there's
I
really
may
only-
like,
there's
you may
only-
not like. You know?
Yeah. There's only one way to set up a guitar. Okay. You put a low E and a high E on, and you set those heights. You use a radius. If you have individually height saddles, you use a radius guide to find the radius of your fretboard, and then you set the rest of the strings to match that radius. That works in 99% of situations. That is what most people, when you give them that setup, they say, wow, that feels really good. You know, if you don't have individual saddles, you're done at the low E and the high E.
Mhm.
Once you get that height set, there's nothing left for you to do.
Yeah.
So you're done. And you can micro adjust a little bit up and a little bit down to taste. But for the most part, it's really, I always am amazed at, I don't know, it's almost like people from the suburbs who never go into the city. They're like, wow, you go into the city? It's like, what are you talking about? It's like, wow, you set up your own guitar? It's like, are we seriously?
Right.
I guess if you pump your own gas,
Well,
it's like,
people are afraid. People are afraid. People think they're going to break it. These things, you know, there's nothing on a guitar that you
there's
can't.
not, yeah.
You can break a neck.
The worst thing you could do, break a neck or break a truss rod. It's about as bad as it gets.
But even so, you can fix that.
I know.
It takes a little money, but you can fix it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
it's
say
funny.
don't fear the axe. Don't fear buying something unplayed, and don't worry if it shows up. One of the worst playing guitars I got was that. What was it? It was a 60s classic Vibe. It was a great guitar once I set it up. Oh, so nice. But when I got it, it was set up so horribly. The guy had stripped out the truss rod adjustment, so there was no. This guy probably didn't know left from right. Okay, seriously, like left loose, right tight. I mean, that's
Right.
that's a common mistake. And so he clearly stripped it out, and it had a bit of a like a bow to it, and there was no
Too much relief.
There was no too much relief. There was no, but he had tens on it, and some of the strings felt like not even tens, like way beyond that. I'm like, what the hell is on this thing? It was like so weird. I took all the strings off, put a real set of nines on it. That brought the relief back on the nine because I pulled a lot of tension off the neck, and I did my little low E, high E, matched the radius, and it was like like a whole new guitar. And I paid $100. I paid $100 for that guitar, probably because you couldn't give it away the way it was, set up. But
that's one of the things I've always enjoyed about your videos. Is you'll get a guitar. I mean, you had this quote. Remember, you said years ago you would never purchase a guitar for $300 or more, or something like that. Wasn't it true? You said that a few years ago.
Yeah. Well, I try to. I still try to do that. The problem is the guitars I want aren't priced like that. Like right now, I want a PRS.
Yeah.
But good luck finding a U.S. handmade PRS for $300. Sometimes you can't do it. But what I'll try to do is I'll try to get a PRS that Guitar Center had up for $24.99 and couldn't sell it, and now it's $14.99. It's $1,000 off with a 10 top. Yeah. And it will only last like a day or two, and it'll be gone like right away. That's the one you want to pounce on because you're still way below market. That's where you want to be. You just want to be below market.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you buy these guitars, do you buy them to resell them or you buy them to keep?
I never buy to resell. I always buy to keep. Buying to resell is a fool's errand unless you don't really care about the guitar and you're getting it for next to nothing and you can sell it the next day. Here's the thing. Almost no guitar sells the next day. It's a buyer's market out there. The market is saturated and you might not be making the money you thought you were going to make off on, that you were going to make on it. So it would have to be like crazy. And then when they start to get too crazy, you have to say, is this guitar stolen? right? Because at some point,
Yeah.
it becomes like, well, now it's starting to get, the deal is like ridiculous. Usually the market won't allow for that. Usually
Right.
you can't get
Right.
that low unless there's some intervening factor, like it's stolen, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, you try to get below market as much as you can, but the $300 thing, I've got some amazing guitars for $299 and less. I got an Ibanez RG 560 with vintage Seymour Duncans in it. I'm sorry, 760. You know, that was a $900 guitar in 1988.
Prestige, yeah. Yep. Japanese
it's like,
guitar, great guitar.
yeah. So I mean, they're out there. The deals are out there, but you got to buy it because you want it. To buy it to turn around and sell it, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you on that. I'm the same way. I very, very rarely sell my instruments. If I buy one, it's because I want it. I'm not looking to turn it around.
Dave, that's a good point. I guess, it's funny because now with my guitar collection where it is, I'm pretty satisfied with it. As you get older, you try to make better choices, I guess. And the same thing goes for me. I mean, I guess when I purchase a guitar now, I purchase it and I want to keep it. And, at 44 years old, I say to myself, when I purchase something, I want it to be in my collection. I want to play it. I want to enjoy it. I want to keep it. I don't want to just move on it. And so there's so many guitars I sold over the last 20 years that I regret. I wish I still had. I've been able to kind of reacquaint myself with a lot of them and get them back. And in some cases, the exact same guitar, 5-6 years later. But I guess you live and you learn. And, I feel the same way. I mean, I will sell a guitar if I have to, if I'm going to upgrade it or something like that. But my methods now to my madness are when I purchase something, I want to keep it. I want it to be part of my arsenal,
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you.
That, I mean, also with all these striped guitars that you and I have, we can't sell them. Just can't.
Well, that's right. I mean, you and I, Dave, are in a position where, we have, a million striped Van Halen guitars that we've built over the years. And those are the collector's pieces. Those are the ones, we do the relicking. We make them exactly like Geddes with the cigarette burns. And, we're always tweaking them. I just repainted my 1984 guitar yesterday, and I redid my 918V Kramer from the 5150 backup tour. But, the ones that we could sell would be the signatures, the Music Mans, the PVs, the EVHs, the Steinbergers, whatever. But, even to that day, like I said, I mean, I guess we're in a bind if we ever needed to unload our collections, but I don't purchase something anymore with the intent to sell. I mean, if anything, you and I will do a trade or something like that,
Yeah.
Or you, me, or Hubbard or something like that, like that PV Wolfgang Tobacco with a Fernandez Sustainer, from the Van Halen 04 era, It's like those to me, that's what I just enjoy that stuff. That's what. And when I get up in the morning, I have my cup of coffee. I'll go do my workout before I go to work. I sit in my guitar room and I'll play, and that's my sanctuary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Johnny, what's your main guitar?
These days, it's this one right here. That's a Japanese Wolfgang. Before I had that one, I would tour with a Fender 72 reissue custom, which is great. Tele custom. What'd I say?
Well, that's huge. That's a big. Well, just custom, but
yeah.
Custom. Yeah, I don't know.
So the Tele custom, that had binding, right?
No.
Binding front and back on the Tele custom.
No, think Keith Richards with the humbucking pickup in the neck.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay. Yep. Okay. Yep. Gotcha.
Yeah. Great guitar. Awesome.
Yeah, those are cool. Those are really cool.
So, Steve, when you sit down, I mean, obviously you do your videos and stuff like that, but when the kids go to bed and you have your time to play in your dungeon, what's your main go-to guitar when you actually sit down and play and just enjoy yourself off the air?
You know, that actually rotates. I go through phases. I go through spurts, runs, if you will, where I'll favor, like right now I've been playing the Charbel a lot. Yeah. But that's an E flat. Mm-hmm. So sometimes that just doesn't work because it's got a Floyd Rose and I'm not retuning it. So you know, then I'll switch it up. I've been doing a lot of the classic players, Maxi Strat. That was a great buy at $299. There's a perfect example of a guitar for $299 that had no business being $299. Yeah, and really should have sold for at least like $200 or $250 more than what I got it for.
It was a Mexican Strat. Mexican Strat.
Yeah, it's a Mexican built a player's Strat, but you know, for 1 year, in 2006, so it's very similar to that with the Rosewood, you know. Except mine is a Sonic that looks like Lake Placid. And is that a vintage?
Yeah, this, you know, I got this from a friend of mine about 2 years ago. It's a Maxi Strat, Lake Placid. It's like mint condition. I can't even tell you what year it is because he didn't know.
Let me see the headstock. Let me see the headstock. Okay, back away a little bit.
Is that better?
Yeah. All right, flip it over. All right, so MX. All right, so all right, so M is Mexican, X is 10, right? You're in the tens, and one Texas, I believe, means 2011. Okay, so it would be X0 if it was 2010.
But this is a great little playing guitar. I mean, I tell you, it's incredible. I mean, I put tens on it, and it's a fun little guitar to play, you know, and to go out and buy a real Fender Strat, I don't need it. There's nothing wrong with this. This is perfect, you know.
So mine is very similar to that, except it's got the vintage appointments. So it'll have the vintage tuners.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
You know, they tint the polyurethane in the neck to make it look old.
Right.
And but I got the player's edition, so instead of six screw bridge, it's the two.
You have the pivot posts.
The pivot post, the fulcrum, right? Mm-hmm. The two posts, the dual post, right? So for 1 year, I didn't even know this, but for 1 year, they were doing I want to say it must have been the 60th anniversary or something like that, and it was the 50th anniversary of Abigail Ibarra. So she was a custom. She was a string winder for them, like the most famous string winder of all, you know. And then she basically she's like retiring. She's been with the company for like 50 years. So they do a thing where she doesn't wind the pickups, but the pickups are like factory made but custom shop. You know, it's like, you know, these aren't individually wound just for this guitar, but, you know, they're made in the factory and they are custom shop pickups and they use all the custom shop materials and it's the nice, you know, gray bottoms and they're all initialed and dated by her. Wow. And it was only for 1 year. It was just for 2006. So I do a live show and I'm talking about it. And the dude said, "Did you say that was in 06?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Dude, you might have like custom shop pickups in that thing." He's like, "For 1 year, they did custom shop pickups." And sure enough, I pulled the plate off and it did have the custom shop pickups in it. You know, so again, for $299, right? It's like, you know, there's a guitar that instead of $599, like a regular, you know, standard Strat, they're like $799 because they're like the vintage reissue, right? They get a couple $100 more for that look. Yeah. And you know, so $299 is already a good deal on a guitar that new is $799, but with that little bonus, the little boni of you know, of the custom shop pickups, I was like, man, that might be one of my best scores. I love that guitar. I play it a lot. I love the pickups in it. I think they sound amazing. So I'll use that if I don't use that. I've been in admittedly I've been in the Charbel phase. So that and the Strat.
Yeah, the Charbels. Yep.
and the Strat sometimes.
Oh, the Strat, like the 1980 the Strat?
Yeah, I have an 82 the Strat. It's a
That's
tank.
cool. What color's yours?
Candy apple red.
Very
Oh,
cool. Gold hardware?
Gold hardware.
Beautiful.
Brass master. Covered in gold.
How heavy is that guitar?
It's like 11 pounds.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's like 2 Les Pauls grafted together.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
know the guitar very well.
It's an amazing guitar. It's got almost like a V neck on it.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting neck on it. When people play it, they're like, "Wow, I don't think I've ever felt this neck shape is sort of like half V, half C." You know, it's really
Yeah, it's
weird.
It's a soft V. It's like very much like a Clapton Strat.
Yeah, kind of. Although Clapton, the ones I've played for Clapton were harder V's.
Did you say
that.
Crapton?
I said Crapton. No, no.
You stole my heart.
Of course not. Please. Eric Clapton's awesome. I've seen Clapton a few times. God, he was on a tear in the early '90s.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, when wasn't he on tour? You know,
Yeah.
it's like, so
Yeah.
it's like I must have seen him like a half dozen times between like 89 and 93.
Yes, with his Soldano amps at the time.
Was that what he was? Yeah.
He was using a Bradshaw rig with Soldano amps at the time.
You know, he would play a game where he would come out and start playing a tune. And it took me a couple of shows to get it, but he liked to do it where he would come out and start a famous tune, but start it in a way where you wouldn't quite know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked up on that really fast. And I remember going there with a date with a girl from college, and we were out in Worcester, at the Worcester Centrum. And I remember he starts noodling. I go, "This is wonderful tonight." She goes, "No, it isn't." I'm like, "Give it a minute." Give it a minute.
Yeah. Sure.
And it was, but you could hear him noodling around those chord changes, right? In a very like sort of like cryptic way. He was really adept at that. He loved the almost like the fake him out a little bit with the tunes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, "Wait a second, this is one of the tunes I like." You know?
That's really exciting. That's really exciting to go to a show and to hear something that, well, I mean, these days, because of YouTube, thank you, YouTube, we love you. You know everything before you go. Like
You
Star
gotta
Wars.
cross it.
Like
It's how
Star
I
Wars.
saw the last 2 Van Halen tours.
Yeah, like Star Wars, I'm not looking at nothing, you know,
This is
until
the
I get
lens
there.
of YouTube.
Yeah, but back in the day, you could be totally surprised by stuff, and you still can. You still can, and it's very, very exciting.
If I was going to go and see a tour now, I would avoid all footage on YouTube. The only time I look at footage on YouTube is if I know they came and went, I didn't have the time or the money at the time to go see them. You know, it's all a moment in time. And now you have to like pull a float scheme like 10 months in advance if you want to go see a band. You want to see a band? Right now, they're probably selling tickets to the 2019 shows, you know, for bands. It's ridiculous how far in advance
It's crazy.
sales are at this point. You know, I think my wife just bought tickets for a show in like September of 2018. That's a little, I mean, talk about a float scheme. I mean, you've got to be kidding me.
What band? Foo Fighters?
No, it's probably it's a big act. It might be Pink.
Mm-hmm. A lot of
who I think is on tour right now.
A lot of the brand new bands are selling tickets for their Fellware tour. Fellware, there we go. 10 years
Farewell,
from
you
now.
mean?
Fellware, whatever. Yeah, I can't talk.
That's because you haven't said 5 words this whole thing. We've been on for about an hour, and you've said 4 words.
And 2 of those were "What's up?"
And
4.5. Yeah.
2 of them were wrong words.
It's all this caffeine, man.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Mighty Beane, everybody.
Thank you.
73 people watching at the moment. Only 25 thumbs ups. Come on.
All right, Steve, I got something to show you. I know you're a Kramer guy, okay? I know you're a Kramer guy because you go through your Kramer phases. Now, I need to thank Dave Nesdahl for this.
You better.
My intent. No, I'll give you your props, buddy. I promise. My intent on this guitar was to make it the multicolored tape guitar, which I got hanging in the back. This is an original well, okay. The pickup is not original. I took it out and put the zebra in. This is an original 1982 purple Kramer Pacer with Rockinger bridge with the original Strat lawsuit headstock and the gold Godot crown head chevrons.
First of all, is that an A serial number?
It's a Bravo. It's a B.
Okay. Well, then it could be. It's probably late '81, actually.
Okay, might be late '81. This is a purple Pacer, exactly like the one that Eddie put the multi-tape on back in the Diver Down tour. And these are almost non-existent to find. And I've had a Kramer Pacer with a Rockinger on it, but never with a gold crown head Godos and the lawsuit headstock. I thought you'd definitely appreciate this one.
Oh, what just fell off?
You're right over there.
That was the other knob that I put on there. Yeah. I had to steal the black one for my other one, so I thought you'd like this. This is a great guitar. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it's nice. It's the Rockingers are exceedingly rare. Same with the headstock.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a huge. Go ahead.
I see that headstock on. There's what is that? The Voyager.
Voyager.
Yeah.
You'll see those out there. You can get the Voyager with that headstock.
Yep.
But it's tougher to get the Strat body with that headstock.
Yeah.
That probably supremely pissed off Fender.
Yeah.
They're like, we're not in the grave yet, you bastards. Everyone was dancing on their grave in the early 80s. They're like, ding dong, they're gone. See ya. Everyone was coming out with Strat copies because everyone just figured, Fender's over. But they came swinging back. And at the end of the day, Fender's still they are huge right now. They are so friggin' huge.
Look at them now. They got Eddie Van Halen on their side.
I heard Kramer.
How much bigger can you do that?
I did the video about how Kramer, is dead, but they're telling me that there's been murmurs. Right. There's been some heart palpitations going on. They can hear some pulse, a faint pulse coming out of the Facebook feed. Although they still haven't updated the website. I kept checking the website to see if there was an update, and no update there. But maybe they're just gonna relaunch. A lot of times they just give up on an old site and they say, you know what, we'll do another site. We'll completely redesign it, bring in new designers. It'll be a different experience, and we'll just, it'll be Kramer 2.0, under the Gibson umbrella. NAMM will know. I'll know by the end of January what the story will be. By February 1st, I should know, because when I get there, I'll go to the Gibson booth and see if they have more than one Kramer on display. Could we get it up to two? And
I was there this year. You walk in, there's one guitar. There was one Kramer. Whereas the year before, there was actually a wall of like 6 or 7
they had
guitars.
a whole display, and they were full on pushing it. I mean, that was what was so weird.
They didn't even have any real good guitars to show.
Yeah,
no, in fact, I criticized their whole room was a joke. It was very much like a flea market.
Yeah, but that was back when Satch was playing the Kramers, and right? Wasn't that when Satch was playing the Kramers from Steel Panther, and then he went back to what, Charbel?
He seems to have moved to Charbel. Nothing official though. He's not on Charbel's website.
Satchel's not on. I think he is actually.
Is he finally on the website?
Yeah. Well, they don't have a model for him because he's using custom shop guitars.
Okay, but his face is on the website.
He's not paying for them. I can guarantee he's not paying for those guitars.
Oh, so what? But he's probably not paying for them. But is he being promoted as an artist on Charbel's website as like he's not necessarily have a signature guitar, but just under the umbrella of the brand? As like an artist.
That's a good question. That is a
You
good
know?
question. Yeah.
So, that would at least lend some credence to he doesn't know where to go, and maybe he's going, Charbel? Maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know, but he seems to really like that green one that he's using.
Yeah, that green one, if you look closely, it appears to be, I don't know that that's factory painted.
No, it's not. None of them are, because they don't really do a Bengal tiger thing. That's basically,
Yeah, it looked like
George Lynch's deal. It's really his deal too.
Yeah, I swear it almost seemed like they took. It looked like there was a tiger flame underneath that green, and they stuck a Charbel neck on it. Like he put that guitar together.
Yeah.
That didn't come from Charbel, so I don't know. He hasn't said anything, and I haven't seen him like on video or anywhere else. Bring out on Facebook anywhere and say like, well, I'm Charbel. This is what, and nothing. So, the only thing that's for sure is he's not playing Kramer.
Yeah.
So,
Although on the road, he does take a couple of those guitars with him still. He's still taking some of those Kramers with him. And I noticed that if they have a guest play with him, he's giving the guest a Kramer, and he's still using the Charbels.
Interesting. I know when I saw him the last time I saw them, he brought out the Kramer for 2 songs that were both in drop D.
Mm-hmm.
And the guitar was just tuned to drop D.
Right.
And it was almost like, give me a different guitar, completely different. So when I look down, I know, all right, this is my drop D guitar, right?
Yeah.
So he's playing one guitar all night that's green, and then he switches to like a bright pink guitar or a bright yellow guitar for the drop D stuff. He does that for a couple tunes, and then he's back to the other guitar, and they call it a night. So
Yeah.
2 songs maybe on the Kramer, if I recall, all drop D.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because I mean, he was doing ads with the Kramer and everything. All of a sudden, boom, gone, nothing. Strange.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was weird that like one day Kramer updated their page like with all these pictures. I think it was Instagram. Was it their Instagram or something?
Yeah, it was like it's like 2 years worth of photos in 12 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
We forgot to press send. Oh,
And maybe they got
damn.
a signal.
Yeah, they finally got a signal. Where they all go up, they're all sitting in an outbox. Oh, that's funny.
That's too funny.
Yeah.
Man.
Uh-oh, I think you might have. Do you want to start here? Yeah, I got to pause that.
Steve, there's a question in the chat. Bozique has a question about the Harley Benton guitars. Do you have an opinion on those?
Yeah. So it's pretty much the number one requested brand I get is Harley Benton, because they're very inexpensive and they're huge in Europe. But there's almost zero presence in the US, we just don't have them here. So I was like, my stock answer was, I don't know. I've never played one. And finally, when I went to GitCon, they had a booth, and I got to play a bunch of them.
That was my next question about GitCon. So this is a good thing to talk.
Yeah. So they had a booth, and they had maybe 10 or 12 guitars there. A lot of different things, and they had like a Les Paul looking one, but of course the shape is a little different, and they had an SG, but again the shape is slightly different, usually to do with symmetry, to keep Gibson from giving them a hard time. But that SG was like the old triple humbucker custom with the block inlay and the ebony fingerboard and
like a
all
61
gold.
Les Paul.
Yeah, like a 61 Les Paul, all done up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 150 euros. It's like 180.
Like $10?
Yeah, it's actually, I think our money's worth slightly less. I think we're probably 170, maybe $200 at most. But you know, I'm playing. It's a set neck, you know, and I'm playing it, and I'm like, you can't be serious, you know. This is, I mean, how can they get this out to market like that? But they seem to be able to do it, and you know, they were really nice. Again, what it really is it's a tribute. It's a testament to how far we've come in manufacturing, because it's hard when you look at that. It's hard to imagine how that could possibly be built for the money that they're asking for it. And back in the 1980s, we had $150 guitars. They weren't like that, not even close. They were just horrible, just terrible instruments, you know. So like compared to what you can get these days, I mean, the quality of those Harley Bentons. I spoke with them, and they're going to try and send me some guitars to check out. I gave them a big long list of guitars and said, just pick whatever you have in stock off this list, you know, and I'll work off that, you know. I don't expect everything, but you know, whatever you have in stock, here's the list of the wish list, and pick out whatever you have and ship it over. So I don't know what they're going to send me. It'll be a bit of a surprise, but I think I put a couple of Les Paul style guitars on there, and a PRS style guitar, and maybe a fan fret, just to get something a little different, you know, that I'm not used to playing.
Nice.
And,
Speaking of, first of all, we spoke about this in our last show a tiny bit, or maybe it was a show before, I can't remember. But you just said that the inexpensive guitars of today are you know, much better quality than the ones of, say, the mid '80s. But do you remember the made in Japan big headstock Squire Strat from '86?
yeah, I do, but that guitar was like $299.
Oh, was it that much money?
Oh yeah, that could. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, we sold them. We sold them at the music store.
I'm a little bit younger than you, but I had one, and I don't. Well, you know what? I guess at the time, I'm
pretty sure it could have been $249.
But I mean, but even for that money, even though $249, that guitar compared to a Squire Strat today for $249, I think that guitar was way better for the money than.
Yeah, but if you would look at let's even call it $199.
Okay.
Right, $199 in 1986 is got to be $500.
Yeah.
Right. In terms of what $199 would have bought you.
That guitar now is like $700.
Well, what I'm saying is like, you know, if you look at just inflation, like what could you, like, instead of taking your $200 and spending it on a guitar, let's say you took that same $200 and you just bought a whole bunch of crap with it, right? You know, you bought gasoline, you know, whatever, clothing, right? And all this stuff. Everyday stuff.
Sumatra blend at Costco.
Sumatra blend coffee, all the stuff, donuts, everything, double donuts. So the you know what you could have got for $200 back in 1986. 1986 gas was like, you know, 87 cents a gallon. You know, 78 cents a gallon. I mean, it was milk was a lot cheaper. $1.29,
yeah,
$1.39 for a gallon of milk. Very different than from what it is now. So just in terms of like purchasing power, if you look at like, you know, what $199 guitar today, back then it would have been like $49, right? So it's like when you when you start looking at like, you know, what your money is getting, and when you account for inflation, today's $199 is even much cheaper than it was 30 years ago. Much cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Because of what, you know, because people's salaries are that much higher. So $199 isn't that big of a deal.
That's true.
So, you know, what was it? It used to be send $4.99, then it was $9.99, then it was $19.99, then it was $29.99, And now we're up to 2 or 3 payments of $29.99. Look to infomercials for the rate of inflation.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more.
Or less. But wait, there's less.
But wait, exactly.
Yeah. Steve, did you see the Eddie Van Halen interview and little previews on Musician's Friend the last day?
No, within the last 24 hours?
Yeah, Johnny, would this come out yesterday?
2 days. Last couple days. Musician's Friend is doing a contest where you can win an autographed 5150 Stripe series. Looks like this. One of those signed. You can win that, and you can win the new amp. What's the new amp? The 50 watt
5153 or
EL34.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they announced that a couple days ago. Well, I did a video on it, and when was that? Monday?
It might have been Monday.
So yeah. Yeah.
So he's
Rob's excited.
So they're promoting an interview that's coming out?
It's already out. It's in the, if you get Musician's Friend, if you get it in the mail, he's on the cover, and it's cool.
Really?
Yeah, if you go to www.musiciansfriend and then you click on the link for EVH, you can see the little riff that he does. It's kind of cool. Just does a little noodling, and there's some behind the scenes stuff. It's kind of neat. And then there's a sweepstakes thing you can go in.
Yeah, getting Eddie to play when not on stage is a little tricky. He's famous.
Yeah.
Not really playing that much.
Yeah. Yep.
He really does. He's like, well, come to one of my shows.
Yeah.
Have one. How about have one, and then we'll come.
Yeah.
Come to one of my shows in 8 years, and maybe you'll see me.
So,
which
I think, and again, maybe money isn't a big thing for him, but I think if he put together the band with Sammy and Mike, put back that, because 90s nostalgia is going to come. I mean, it's already sort of here, late 80s, early 90s nostalgia. You know, it's like they should cash in on that. They would sell out like crazy to see that lineup. But again, maybe it's not of interest to them, and they don't really need the money, and they're like, oh, whatever. So
I would love to see. I would absolutely love to see. Sammy come back, Mike come back, bring Roth if you want. That's great. I would absolutely love to see that. But you make a good point, Steve. Now we're in year 2017, pushing 2018. 1992, 93, 94, 95, the FUCK, the For Unlawful tour, Balance tour. We look back at that now. I mean, I have a lot of those videos from those live shows, and I'm a big fan of the Balance tour. I love the Balance album. I love all the Sammy era. I love the Roth stuff. You listen back to that stuff, and that's the vintage stuff now. You listen to songs like Seven Seal, Don't Tell Me, 5150, the song Summer Nights, AFU, When It's Love. I mean, all those songs, people want to hear that stuff again. And Eddie is right on top,
I mean, the whole thing right now and Dreams are, pretty much Olympic soundtracks at this point.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, these songs, they're on ESPN like nonstop because
I know
it those are, just they're the right songs for a certain feeling. And
right.
It's perfect. And I just think that there's definitely a market out there for it. The fans would love it. You did the David Lee Roth thing, which was a long time coming. Everybody wanted it. Right. We got it twice plus an album. Great.
Yeah.
But if you could do the same thing with Sammy, I think you'd make a lot of people happy. And you'd probably sell out every single show. I can't see how it couldn't sell out.
Yeah.
Well,
I think you got to bring Mike back too.
I personally don't think Eddie. I don't think Eddie will ever get over Sammy's book, and I think that was the nail in the coffin. That's
Right.
you know, Eddie alone is worth $80 million. He doesn't need to do another tour.
Yeah.
Not that I don't want him to. I'd love for them to come around
Right.
with whomever sings. I don't really care. Sam, it would be great to hear Sammy and see Mike, but I don't think it's going to happen. I
Right.
just don't think it's going to happen. I think Eddie holds grudges for a very, very long time, and he's got no reason to.
Let me throw this out there. How would you feel if he came back, Eddie came back, and they had Wolfie on bass, you know, or maybe he brings Mike on bass, who knows? But they bring in the dude from Steel Panther, who can sing almost exactly like David Lee Roth from back in the day, but his vocals are really strong. They're really solid because he's a much younger guy. He's probably 15, maybe 20 years younger than David Lee Roth, you know? Yeah. So his vocals are still very strong. He knows all the stuff. He was in a David Lee Roth cover band. I mean, a Van Halen cover band, for Christ's sakes. I mean, would the fans ever tolerate that, or would it get just too Vegas-y? In some ways, it would improve it.
I think Van Halen's a Vegas act with Roth.
Well, see, that's what some people are saying, that with Roth, it's too sticky.
But it was that way in 1981.
Right.
Roth is a Vegas guy. He's just a vaudeville Vegas guy. And amazing performer. But in the vaudeville Vegas way.
Yeah.
And that's what Van Halen is and always was.
Yeah.
Until Sammy came around, and then they became more adult contemporary.
Right. I agree with Dave. Oh, go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry.
But to answer your question, I'd go see them if Barbra Streisand was singing for them. I'd go see
that would be a show.
I don't care.
That'd be an expensive show.
Yeah.
I still say though. I still, that'd be interesting. I still say after all these years, you know, I mean, we go back to 1995 when, you know, they were doing interviews and Eddie said Roth will never come back. You know, it was a divorce. I remember he said that. It's a divorce. He'll never come back. You know, and then the Sharon days, Van Halen 3, which I love that album. It's a great album. And then Roth comes back. And then, you know, Sammy came back. Then Roth comes back. I think I would never say never with that band again, ever. I mean, you can look at interviews where Eddie and Alex said this will never happen again, and it does. But I still say I think the key to this whole equation is Wolfgang. I think Wolfie is the one that comes out and says, Dad, we got to do this. Dad, you got to play dirty movies. You're going to play Hear About It Later. You're going to play The Full Bug. You're going to play Hang 'em High. I watched him play Hang 'em High in Boston in 2012. I was like, wow, here's one you haven't heard in a million years. I think none of that ever would have happened unless you had Wolfgang. And I still say, I still have hopes that one day, you know, we'll see that, whether it's a farewell tour or whether it's not. I agree with Dave. I think Eddie has some different feelings due to the book that came out. I do agree with that, but I'm still hopeful, not confident, but I'm still hopeful that one day they're going to say, you know what, let's just knock this out one more time. Let's knock it out of the park. Bring Roth back, bring Mike back, bring Sam back. Let's just have some fun, have a good time. Let bygones be bygones. We're going to play Summer Nights. We're going to play 5150. We're going to play Good Enough. We're going to play Seventh Seal. We're going to play Don't Tell Me, Amsterdam. We're going to play AFU. We're going to do all this fun stuff. I still have hopes that one day that will happen. When Sammy went on tour with Roth, it was the Sam and Dave tour. Guess what? He played Amsterdam. He played 5150. He played Good Enough. And he did it because he knew the fans wanted it. And it's not rocket science what people want. The question is Eddie going to do it? I don't know.
The other thing is, and I hate getting into this, but I'm going to. With Roth, there never needed to be a friendship between Eddie and Roth. It was, let's do this, let's make the money, let's give the fans what they want. Yeah. And that's known. Mm-hmm. Sammy, on the other hand, wants to be friends before he goes into business with Eddie Van Halen again. That'll never happen. They're never going to become friends. And Sammy certainly doesn't need the money. He said it himself. He doesn't want to do the tour for the money or for any other reason unless it's fun for him and he's friends with his old friend again. And that's just not going to happen. I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. It's too much. There's too much bad blood. If Sammy, it might happen if Sammy just said, you know what, let's just do it for the fans. And then he was like, you know what, we could use the money, whatever, we'll do it. We'll go and we won't see each other after it's only for the 2 hours that we got to be on the stage. But it's not going to be that way because neither side wants what they want. And neither side is getting what they want. And both sides don't want to devote the time because their pockets are lined. I mean, Sammy's worth $100 million.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you up until the Guns N' Roses reunion tour. then everything went out the window. then everything we thought was a basic truth in this world went right out the window because I never thought they were going to get back together.
Well, I don't know the inner workings. Not that I know the inner workings of Van Halen, but I don't really follow Guns N' Roses other than then Slash and Axl broke up. You know, I don't know.
It was a similar bad blood story. The hatred was deep. He wouldn't show up to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame celebration, and that was pretty recent, and it all seemed to just fade away. It could have been a money thing. We don't really know.
Well, I'm thinking. I mean, they're probably one of the biggest bands to come out of the 90s, or was it the late 80s still?
Really late 80s. 87 was
okay.
87 was the
that record.
Yeah.
Appetite was a big record. But
yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know what I was going.
So, Steve.
That human beings have a hard time reconciling. People are stubborn.
So, Steve, a question for you. Since we're on the Van Halen piece, obviously you're very familiar with the band and Eddie and the guitars. You've been around these things for years and years and years. Out of the Van Halen guitars, the Charbels, the Frankenstrats, the Ernie Ball Music Mans in the early 90s, the P.V. Wolfgangs, the Steinbergers with the Trans Trims, and now the EVH line. What is I'm sure you've played them all. What is your favorite guitar to play out of the Eddie brand, and why?
I think my favorite guitar of his was always the Bumblebee.
Yeah.
Right? I would say more than that in the black and white because that's the old school. So like really those, even maybe more than the red one, because the red one almost got a little too big, right?
Too big for its britches, yeah.
yeah. It's almost like the Sunburst on a Les Paul, and that like it's a very popular color, right? It's like sometimes you want the one that's not so popular. So I do like those, and I like those EVH series guitars. They're almost identical to my Charbels. I mean, they feel pretty much like the same.
Yeah, you have a Soquel?
Yeah, San Dimas.
No Soquel?
San Dimas.
Oh, San Dimas, yeah. The Made in Mexico one?
Yeah.
It is the same exact guitar without stripes.
Yeah.
Exactly the same guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. So, I like those a lot. I really like, in terms of like the look, I have to say there was a newer EVH, sort of I probably was the Wolfgang model, but it was a hardtail, right? And it was high end, so it would have ebony with a nice large block inlay, neck on it, and some extra fancy binding, and it was a high end instrument. But there was just something about it. I really like the look of that guitar,
Was it a black one or the burst?
The black one, and the white one for that matter. There's a sort of like an off-white,
Yeah.
like an ivory.
Yeah.
That's the same thing. Again with the block inlay and the ebony fingerboard.
Yeah.
And it's just it just had a nice look to it, and the stealth, when the stealth first came out and was matte finish.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe I was so shallow. I was like, I'm not so shallow that a matte finish is just gonna like rope me right in. And the next thing I know, I was like, man, I really like the look of that guitar. It's like it's one of those things you sort of get.
Yeah.
You know,
the custom that you're talking about, the custom deluxe hardtail, they make a relic version now that's unbelievable. Music Zoo has had them in the past. They have one now. I mean, it's for all intents and purposes a high performance Les Paul. It's a mahogany neck, mahogany body with a maple cap. But the cool thing about it, the real cool thing, I don't have it here, but the contour in the back, the back where the neck meets the body, is so thin right here, and it's just your heel fits so amazingly. It's nothing like that, Rob. Nothing like that. It's so different.
Like what? What are you talking about?
So different than the one in your hand. So
I don't
different.
have a guitar in my hand.
Yes, but it's so different than that. It's not.
Damn, shut
it's
down.
Not the same thing. Not the same
Shut
thing.
Down.
That's Ron.
Down in flames, as Van Halen would say.
It's
How dare you?
no. It's a very different thing than that.
The tight sweater.
It's even more comfortable than that.
Right.
Yeah.
Really.
Well,
cool.
you know, Fender. You wonder when Eddie's going to declare Fender the world's worst company and move on to PRS, right? You know
it could happen at any moment.
It could happen at any moment.
Yeah.
Someone at Fender could say, you know, come this way, Ed, and he'll go, my name is Eddie. And like, that's it. It's over. So, you know, who knows? But they seem to be doing well for him. And I can't see him going to another brand that would have deeper pockets,
Yeah.
you know, to help, you know, the guy's brand out. You know, pretty much is the dude. I mean, who's bigger than Fender? Nobody, by a huge margin.
No, they're at NAMM. They got that huge room, the huge one, and then they've got the one with EVHGEAR, Charbel.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, their factory cranks out about 1,000 guitars a day, which is, you know,
Yeah, that's crazy.
that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, we know guys that build those guitars, and yeah, they said they have to build like 1,000 a day.
It's funny, 1,000 a day. Ernie Ball Music, man, they were putting out 1,000 a year of the Eddie Van Halen models.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you know, those are the numbers, anyways. But things change.
Back in the day, man.
That's the name of my new band.
Back in the day.
Back in the day, yeah.
That's now the name of the show. Back in the Dave.
Back in the day.
Remember that.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So, Johnny, what about you? What have you been playing these days?
That question again? That guitar.
What about the black one?
And
Yeah.
the black one.
What about the blue?
Huh?
Nothing.
The blue? I don't have a blue one.
Black and Blue?
What?
Good song.
Uh-huh. Steven, what's your favorite Van Halen? What Van Halen songs do you like?
Oh,
Or albums? Or
well, you know, anything off of 1 and 2. Pretty much the first 4 albums are just, you know, anything with Roth in it's, you know, pretty much a masterpiece. Though, you know, Diver Down feels like a collection of, you know, scraps thrown together from the studio. But other than that, the rest of the albums feel pretty solid.
Yeah.
Really, the guitar tone on 1 and 2 though is just some of the best out there. You know, I just, there's something about his tone, those albums, really, really good. And his playing was just so on point.
Yeah.
Yep.
What was your?
I was saying, like, even rhythmically, those early years, there's a lot going on. I was talking about it when I was at KitCon with Phil X, about how, you know, Van Halen's rhythm, he was showing me some stuff. He's like, you know, people play it like this, but what he's really doing is this, and there's so much more little nuance going on. These little articulations that go on that when you don't hear them, it's almost like listening to an MP3, right? Versus like away, right? It's like you're like, oh, it's the same, but not quite the same. And then when you hear someone play it like really correctly with all those little pick nuances and all those little scat notes that he throws in, these little ghost notes and grace notes and little right hand little chinks that he's throwing in rhythmically to fill in space, right? To get, you know, just the right rhythm feel. And that's from playing with his brother for so many years. His rhythm is just way beyond what anyone else was doing at that time. Really is. And I still consider him one of the greatest. I mean, everyone talks about his lead playing. He's like one of the greatest rhythm guitarists ever.
Yeah.
His rhythm playing is just so, and just even his shuffle feel. Look at, you know, I'm the One. No, you can name on like one hand the guitar players who play that correctly, because no one gets the shuffle feel down. It's too fast. When you really play it in a true shuffle, it is a really fast passage.
Yeah,
I mean, your right hand has to be spot on.
No, I consider Pete Thorne one of the best Van Halen-esque players that can kind of cop Eddie's stuff.
Yeah.
And he has problem playing I'm the One.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
It's hard. Nobody's nailed it. Yeah.
Well, Jacob Duraps. He's the best Van Halen guy on YouTube.
Yeah,
he's one of the few guys who actually can get the feel down. And when you watch him play and you watch all those little things, you're like, wow, I'm missing like 40% of what he's playing.
Yeah.
You know? It's like there's a lot going on there. Yeah.
That kid is good. He's good. And he, like you said, Steve, he's got the feel. He's got that taste. Eddie had that tasty kind of phrasing too. You know, you pick up a good point when you talk about his rhythm playing. I mean, yeah, he's an incredible lead guitarist. Of course, his soloing is just phenomenal. But to be able to have those tasty licks and just those little, like you said, those chinks and, you know, those little ghost notes that he plays just to kind of put the feel, you know, him and Alex, like he said, the Smithsonian interview, there was a hole, we filled it. That's what he said. Well, there was a hole, we filled it. You know, he said they always subscribe to it's like you go to the all you can eat for $1. Well, then give me $3 worth. You know, that's just was their style. What was your thought process when back in 1986 when EVHGEAR came around, 5150 came out, and then, you know, You Wait When Two and For Unlawful and Balance? What did you think of the band back in those days?
I saw Eddie I saw them on the 5150 tour. I saw him on the 84 tour, and I saw him on the 5150 tour. And I saw the Eat 'Em and Smile tour.
Yeah. Must have been the Worcester Centrum.
It was.
Yeah.
It was the Worcester Centrum. And
what was your thought process when you heard that album 5150? Were you like, whoa, I don't like this? Or
no, I liked it. You know, Eddie, for me, by that point, it was hard for him to do wrong.
Yeah.
With me. Yeah. You know, it's like that. The guy just you know, he had earned it. Yeah. He had earned you know, my he had earned my respect, and he had earned my he got a pass for me to listen to it with an open mind, because, you know, he had never disappointed me ever, really. And I really dug the stuff with Sammy. I think towards the end, maybe I didn't like as much of it. And maybe it got a little too pop for me. But I liked all the Sammy stuff.
Hmm.
You know, a lot of people were calling it Van Hagar, and they'd never call it Van Halen, and you know, they got a lot of pushback at the time. But you know, Van Halen just seemed to move ahead, like whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 5150 was the first Van Halen record I ever bought, so I don't know any different. You know, I bought 5150 and then I bought the first album.
Right.
Yeah.
And grew up on both. To me, Van Halen was just Van Halen.
Right.
I never saw all the viciousness and craziness until I jumped on the internet.
Yeah.
You know,
I didn't either, Johnny. It was the same for me. I mean, you know, we're about the same age, but I mean, you know, when I really started getting into Van Halen in 1984. I mean, I remember being on vacation at Lake Winnipesaukee up in New Hampshire with my family, and my buddy I brought to the lake on vacation had this little cassette deck, you know, 1984. Hey, listen to this. Heard Panama and Jump. I was like, whoa, that's incredible. That's that Eddie Van Halen dude. You know, I had heard him before, but it wasn't I didn't really listen to him that much. And then
look at this.
5150 comes out.
I just found this the other day in a box.
That's so cool.
It's not even opened.
That's cool.
I've never heard it. Is it good?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
What is that thing? A cigarette box?
No, it's a tape.
I know.
I remember going.
He knows what it is.
I remember going to Strawberries. Remember Strawberries?
Strawberries. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember going to Strawberries the day Van Halen's 1984 came out. A little snow on the ground. I think it was in February.
That'd be about
January,
right.
February.
What is it with you clicky Northeasterners? Jeez.
What's that?
So what is it with you clicky Northeasterners?
I don't know.
I know it.
Like strawberries. What is that?
I know. Steve says strawberries or LaSalle or whatever, and it's just like, oh yeah, I know that.
Where I lived, there was a record store called Pickles.
Yeah, we had Strawberries.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, we had Tower Records over here, but they came and went, and Strawberries was still around for a while. But now even Strawberries is gone, and the only one left, I think, is Newbury Comics. Oddly enough,
Yep.
Because they sell a lot of, you know, non-music related tchotchkes, and you know, a lot of T-shirts and, you know, figures.
Out here in California, we have 3 stores called Amoeba Music. And next time any of you guys are out in California, if you're in Hollywood, you got to check out Amoeba Music. Best store on the planet.
They still have record stores out there?
Out here, yeah.
It's amazing.
Yes.
We have a store here coming back into business called Looney Tunes.
Oh yeah, sure.
It was a used record store in the Back Bay for the longest time. If you went to Berkeley, you at some point went to Looney Tunes, and they finally went under, and they announced they're coming back. They're going to open up in Cambridge or Somerville, and they're getting back into the business again. So we'll see. I think they said it's vinyl. It's vinyl that's bringing them back.
Yeah.
There's enough market, and there's enough out there that they can make a go of it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That is cool. Funny how things change, and they come and they go, and sometimes they come back around again, and it's the whole cycle of, you know, of interest of people. Man, you know, who would have thought Shorty Shorts come back? You know.
I'm gonna open this when cassette players come back.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
So Steve, tell us a little bit about your feelings on GitCon and what happened while you were there. And some people still don't know what that is. So, want to tell us about it a little bit?
I don't think we knew what it was. I mean,
right.
You know, we didn't know. So GitCon was a thing where I think the people at Framus and Warwick used to have, you know, like Steve Stevens or someone like, you know, and Phil X come out and do like a show at their facility for like a week, and they'd get like a little bit of, you know, a news attention and from that and so forth. And I think Paulie just said, you could bring those guys out and, do a show or whatever, but I think you'd get a lot more visibility for the same money instead of bringing out one or two famous guys to do a show here. If instead you just brought out 15 or 20 YouTubers who would probably give you a lot more eyeballs, in the long run than you would with that. And they sort of hemmed and hawed. It took them a couple of years to convince him to do it. And then they finally did it. And he just said, listen, and of course it's expensive. So they wanted to, they offset the cost of it by bringing in other companies. So Ibanez was there. Paul Reed Smith was there. Universum Guitars was there. Rev was there. TC Electronic was there. Keeley pedals. Robert Keeley was there. Tor from TC Electronics was there. The guys from Hughes and Kettner were there. Schecter was there. Marshall was there. Harley Benton was there. Hagstrom was there. Vox was there. Reverb was there. And I'm going to be so bummed if I forget somebody.
And the rest of them.
And the rest. And the professor and Marianne. And that was the whole crew.
They were still there.
So it was it was cool. Oh, and Mac Mull Guitars was there. So it was a we didn't know what to do. What is this? What are we doing? We all, what are we going to do? And what they wound up doing was setting up a bunch of rooms for video recording. And we just went to a board, a big sign-up sheet, and everyone just signed up to make videos with each other. And that went on for 5 straight days. And then every night we would go down to a tent, and they would feed us, and we would do a live show, like a round table on stage. And then we would finish up with a jam. And it had Phil X as the leader, and you really need that guy as a band leader. He's pretty much hard to replace because he's so good. He can sing his ass off, he can play his ass off, and his catalog is deep. So he can work with a lot of different people, and it sounds pretty damn good. So. It was really good. We shot a bunch of videos, and they've already scheduled it for next year. I've already been invited back for next year, and it should be good.
Nice.
Should be good. We're going to do a reunion at NAMM at the Warwick Framus booth. We're all going to get together and do a little reunion.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So I thought it was a good thing. I mean. I think next year I'll know I'll be more planned. I think this year maybe didn't have the output I thought I could have put out, because it was a lot of, now what do I do?
Right.
Right. It's like if you weren't booked into a room, I mean, you could try to shoot something outside. I mean, that's what you'll see. A lot of footage was not shot in the rooms. A lot of the footage was shot in the main room. A lot of the footage was shot down in the studio, down in the downstairs in the showroom. And that's just because it was busy. I mean, you bring that many people there and everybody's trying to shoot videos. It's crowded.
Mm-hmm.
It was good.
That's cool.
It's cool meeting everyone. It was cool hanging out.
How far was the drive from the airport?
About 2.5 hours.
I heard the drive was like driving into the abyss trying to find it.
The driving, I didn't care. It was as rural as if you drove to Western Mass or New Hampshire or anything like that. It's rural. It's like whatever. The craziness is that how fast they drive on the highway, because we max out here in terms of like kilometers at 55 is what, about 80 kph roughly.
Yeah.
65 is about 90, maybe 95 kph.
Yeah, man. Not so much for me.
Yeah, we got on the highway and he went up to 180 kph. And then it was taking it up to like 200, 205. I'm like, we're not in a hurry. And he's looking at me like, what's your problem? And I'm like, my problem is we're doing 120 miles an hour and I don't, that's not a very forgiving speed.
No,
You
yeah.
know? So
Smack
I
into
was
something at 120, you're not making
yeah,
it.
it's like, we took a corner, and I mean, Philip McKnight was in the front seat. He was like white knuckled, and I don't blame him. I was in the back seat, and I was like, man, this is crazy. So the ride back was nothing. Guy drove a van and drove normal. Was doing like 100 kph the whole time. It was like whatever. But the man, that ride out there, oh, it was brutal. Brutal. So we'll see. We'll see next year. I'm gonna have to pick up a few euros and dang a euro in front of them and dangle a euro and say, dude,
Slow down.
there's 20. Let me just start out with 20 euros. All right. And we'll just keep going from there.
Yeah.
So slow down. You need more euros?
Yeah, usually you pay them to hurry up.
That's right.
Yeah. No,
Slow
this guy
down.
was driving like a maniac, making me mental. But
Hey, real quick, I just want to give my buddy Broken Chains a shout out in the chat. This is his guitar that I'm setting up for him. It's a Washburn Steve Stevens hand painted Frankenstein. It is one of the coolest guitars that I've held in a long time. It's all beat up. An old
That
one.
is cool.
Wow.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah,
and is the factory paint that, or did he paint that?
No, it's a factory paint.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's factory. I met Steve Stevens. He did a clinic out here. I want to say it was before the tour where he toured with Van Halen with Vince Neil. I want to say it was 93.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a 93 guitar?
I would imagine it is. I would imagine, but look, I mean, it's people kill to
That's
get
so-
their Fender guitar to look like this.
That is cool. That is cool.
Whoever owned this before my buddy really played it.
That is so cool.
Wow.
Yeah, cool guitar.
Another Frankenstein.
So I'm doing a setup on it. I haven't. This is really, I have it plugged in, but I haven't really messed with it yet. But it feels great. The neck really feels great. It's a good guitar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Looking forward to getting a set of strings on it.
Dave, are you still running your home rig there, like when Hubbard and I were back out there in August?
Yes.
The wet, dry, wet setup? Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me too. I still love that wet, dry, wet setup. It just sounds incredible.
Mhm.
Yeah, it does.
Steven, I was watching you were live on YouTube the other day, and I jumped in, and right when I jumped in, you were talking about whatever you were playing through, your sound was kind of like a wet, dry, wet, wasn't it?
I don't know. I had to be going through software. I can't imagine I wouldn't be. When I do my live shows, it's like pretty much when I do anything, I go through the software because it's just a lot easier to get that signal into the camera or into the stream than it is miking an amp. But yeah, I tend to do. I don't know how it handles it, but I tend to go about 15% wet, which is 85% dry, obviously. So it's a fairly strong dry signal, but man, people hate reverb. I kind of like it. When it's too dry, it's like dry oatmeal. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of reverb myself, but I mean, I love delay.
Yeah. Or delay. Some people like delay better because it's not as washy, but it adds some ambience at least.
Yes.
You get something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like Dave. I'm more of a delay fan, but I mean, I tell you, when I watch your videos, Steve, I mean, the sound you have out of your guitar is just incredible. I mean, it's so clear, it's crisp. It's I wouldn't say it's overly processed sound, but I mean, you're definitely running through a software, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I might have been running through that night through the Cinder pedal, if it was a recent one, because I got the Cinder pedal from TC Electronic, and I was checking it out, and I was probably running it into the front end of the like a Vox AC30, like simple amp. I'm pretty sure that was the rig I was using, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And I was cranking it up, and it gets all mushy and like fuzzy when it gets all cranked up. But then when it's low, it's very like sort of SRV Angus Youngish, straight up overdrive. It's nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of Angus Young, rest in peace, Malcolm Young.
Yep.
I know.
Yeah.
And David Cassidy.
And David Cassidy, yeah.
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 Amazing. Really quickly. I know. I told you we would go for about an hour.
Yeah, we're butting up against 2 hours, and I can hear the native circling upstairs there.
Yeah. I've got chickens, and my rooster is about to wake up.
Yeah.
But real quick, our friend Jim Nicholas says, hey Pixxy, you still have that white Ibanez Les Paul? Or was it a friend of yours?
No, I got the white Ibanez. That was a gift from a fan. It came in terrible condition, and I changed the bridge and the tailpiece, and I put DiMarzio super distortions in it. It was incredibly oxidized, but the body was actually in really good shape, better than the one I had. I had an older one that was a little beat up. That one I sold on Craigslist, and got rid of it because the one I got, although it was in worse shape in terms of the hardware, much worse, the body was in much better shape, not nearly as nicked, not nearly as cracked, and much cleaner. It had one crack like on the side of the neck along the binding. Other than that, it was pretty clean, other than a few little nicks. So I just did some work on it. I crowned and polished the frets. I did a full setup. I added a bridge and a tailpiece and the DiMarzio super distortions. I used the same pots. I didn't even change those out. Too lazy, too cheap. And I put a new Switchcraft switch in it. 2 new switches in it. A new switch and a new jack. Both Switchcraft.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was it. That was everything I did on it. And it came out great. I was really happy with it. I still have it. I mean, I wouldn't get rid of it at this point. That's pretty much my recreation of the guitar I owned in 1980.
Yeah.
From like 80 to like 89 or 90, maybe 90. Had it about 10 years.
Yeah.
I regretted selling it about 5 minutes after I sold it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I have those guitars too that I regret. I have one more question to ask you, Steve. So we spoke about you spoke about what your favorite guitar is at the for the time being, or what basically you go through.
I rotate, yeah.
Rotates. What would your dream rig be? Meaning guitar, amplifier, and effects. What would be like the end all be all for you?
See, it's hard to say. It's hard to choose one. Because,
Well, I don't mean that you own. Like, if you could own anything, what would it be?
Well, I got to say that that McCarty Rosewood neck I played out at GitCon was like sublime. I mean, that thing, it had a solid rosewood neck, and that was like a $4,500, $5,000 guitar, right? I mean, and it felt it. I mean, it was nice. You could feel the time that went into it. And as far as an amp, there's so many great amps out there. Again, that's so hard to choose just like one. The Friedman stuff is always great. Every time I hear it, I'm impressed by it. I like some of the Diesel stuff. I know it's too heavy for a lot of people, but not everything they make is super heavy. I like the Morgan stuff, but again, that's really clean. It's like, it's not for everybody. And I really like the Joe Satriani Marshall head. What is that? The 410, right? Which is a killer head. And the Boogie, the new one, the new Petrucci. You know, maybe maybe like the PRS McCarty that I played out there, along with like a JPC head. You know, that might be sort of like an ultimate rig right there. But
Right.
at some point, I'd be like, man, this guitar, you know, doesn't have a tremolo or doesn't have a locking tremolo. I'll find some reason, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There'll be at some point I'll talk myself into another, right? So it's
Well, there's
hard to
always,
choose.
yeah, there's always one more. There's always gonna be one.
Yeah. It's almost like saying, well, what would your ultimate meal be? And it's like, oh, Jesus.
Well, at this point,
I don't know, you know.
Pizza.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. It's like it depends on my mood.
Yeah.
That's why you need 20 plus guitars. You know,
What's your number now, Steve? How many guitars do you own now?
it's been shrinking. I think I'm under 30 at this point, though. I don't know, because you have to count. You count beaters, guitars
Sure.
that are in
It's
a
got
stick.
strings.
Some of them don't, though, and some of them couldn't even take strings because, like,
Yeah.
they're that destroyed. So it's like, do you count it or do you not count it? You know,
Oh, wall hangers count. Yeah.
You know, when I worked at Manny's Music in Manhattan in the mid '90s, and back then, we had, you know, the guitar guys. We were all buddies, and we had like this clique. So back then, if you had a Floyd Rose guitar, or if you had a Floyd Rose on your guitar, it was -1 guitar. So I have minus a lot of guitars.
right?
In fact, I'm in the red. Really.
Yeah. Don't fear the Floyd. I never got that. You know, I pulled my first Floyd completely apart, and like oiled it all down and got all the grunge off of it and polished it. I put some of the stuff with the bolts were starting to rust on it a little bit. I put them in like a little bowl of like what's the what did they used to call that? Liquid, not it might have been liquid wrench, but it might have been what's that? 3-in-1 oil.
3-in-1.
Yeah,
Right,
3-in-1.
Right, 3-in-1. So I had that. I just put it in like a little cup and just sink them in there, right? Almost like you're putting your nail. I started on a Palmolive commercial. That's where I come up with the idea. And I just soaked them in there, and then I put the whole thing back together again. And I remember showing it to a friend. He's like, he's like, "You get a new guitar this pretty?" And I was like, "No, I pulled it apart." He's like, "You're insane. I would never touch that." It's like, what are you talking about? It's like 6 bolts, like literally.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
what are you so afraid of? It's
People are afraid to touch their guitars.
They are.
They are. So I think that's where the Floyd gets a bad rap, because it's, you know, too much. Oh, I think I'm getting the axe here. I'm getting
All right, so
well, you're like 55 minutes over, so
The cane. The
Yeah.
cane.
I'm getting the cane.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm getting cane.
this is when I blame it on Johnny. It's his show.
Yeah. You're the host
Steve-
tonight, though.
Yeah, really.
I usually am.
Well, Steve, we just want to say thank you very much. It was great, great talking to you tonight and hearing you in person. And, like I said, I mean, I know I've been watching your videos for a few years and always been a big fan and still will be. And, I really enjoy your sense of humor. The guests that you have come on, your playing, your conversation and your guitars, your reviews, everything. So it's, for me, it's been a big pleasure talking with you. So thank you.
Yes, you're a gentleman. You're real gentleman. It's really it's the first time that I've ever spoken to you, and first time that I've seen your videos, and you are a sweetheart of a guy.
Yeah.
And that's really amazing. It's good to see.
Go on.
Thank you. Oh, you're talking to him.
Yeah. Johnny,
Well,
I have no words for you.
Well,
Actually,
usually I talk to.
Johnny, I have 2 words for you. Unfortunately, I can't say them live.
Uh-oh.
See, usually I talk to Dave like that. I'm usually telling Dave how much I like him.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I got to wrap this up.
All right.
I'm getting a wrap here.
All right. Great to see you, man. Great to meet you. And I'll have
Great
all your
meeting.
links. All your links will be down below.
All right.
Everybody. Pixxy Lixxx. All
See
right.
you guys. Awesome hanging
Have a good
out.
night, Steve.
And I'll
Have a
see
good
you in
night,
the next
Steve.
one.
Take
All right,
care.
man. Happy
And I'll be-
Thanksgiving, Steve.
I'll be on. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and I'll be on Phil McKnight's show on Friday at 5.
Oh, cool.
Little self promo there. So if you want to check me
Nice.
on Friday and hear all the same stories again, check me Friday 5 o'clock on Phil's show. 5 o'clock is I think my time, East Coast. And
Yeah,
I think
the only
it's 2
time.
o'clock his
That's
time.
the only
So,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right.
Awesome talking. Have a great night. And as
You too,
always,
Steve. Take care.
rock on.
Rock
See you
on,
later.
buddy. See you, Steve.
Bye. Are we off air?
No.
Dave, I've got a couple
No, but
words.
I'm
Oh, wait
taking
a
these
minute.
headphones off.
We're still on?
We are still on.
What was the words you wanted to say? Did they start with a P and a U?
No. Yeah.
Come
Yeah.
on, I begged.
Yes. Puck you.
Okay. I was gonna say though, man, your sweater has some lint on it. It's been bugging me this entire
Oh, this
night,
piece.
man.
This. But it's my lint.
Ah.
It's my lint. Can't get to it even.
You can't say that. Yeah.
It's my lint.
All right. All right. You guys good?
Yeah.
I gotta go. All right. Thank you everybody for watching. Wow, Pixxy Lixxx.
That's
That was
pretty
great.
amazing.
Good guy. Hey, listen, I just want to say one thing real quick to Dave, my good friend Dave Nesdahl, and my good friend Johnny Beane. I just want to say happy Thanksgiving to both you guys and your families, and pets, Howie and Snickers and Brandy and the cats and everybody. Just want to say happy Thanksgiving to you guys. I love you both. And
Chickens.
the chickens. Yeah. And I hope you guys have a good Thanksgiving and enjoy yourself.
Everybody.
Indulge in food. And everybody out there, thanks for watching. Great show.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Everyone be safe on this holiday.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. That you see that LA traffic yesterday?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Nightmare.
Crazy.
Out.
It looked
All right.
Like, it looked like a big Van Halen guitar with all the red and white lights.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It did.
Showman. No. I'm not no. All right. See you guys later. See you guys what? Friday? We're doing Friday?
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe Friday.
I guess.
I think so.
It'll be after Thanksgiving Friday.
I'm not sure yet. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
I'll be
I'll
sitting
have to
here
let you
way
know.
too full.
You guys could do the show. I may or may not be here.
All right. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Dave, Rob, everyone. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. We go live 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 7 days a week. All right. JohnnyBean.tv. Good night.
Have a good night, everybody.
Ciao, everyone.